Welcome to the Maritime Executives podcast series, In the Know. I'm Tony Munoz, Editor-in-Chief. Our Executive Corner podcast will provide conversations with top executives concerning events and issues that are shaping our industry today. We will also bring you up to speed with the latest news and editorials covered by the Maritime Executive.
Good morning, Matthieu. How are you?
Good morning, Tony. I'm very well.
Good. Tell us about your background and how did you come to start at BV?
Tony, I can't believe that was about 28 years ago already. When I first joined, I was, a young graduate in naval engineering. I was fascinated by all things related to maritime, and it was important for me to join an organization where I could truly make a difference. From the beginning, I found the role of class very noble, and BV's original motto of telling the truth without fear or favor really resonated to me. So by being this independent expert voice, class, I think plays a central role in ensuring safety and protecting the environment. So working with BV so far has been an incredibly rewarding career, which has been, taking me, from France to Singapore, South Korea, and the United States. So it's also given me the opportunity to work closely with industry in a wide range of sectors, such as, LNG, cruise shipping, and of course, the offshore sector. So through my career, let me say that I've been driven by one commitment: to help shape a better maritime world. As many people, I have children, and I want to leave the maritime world in a better place than we found it, for them, of course, and future generations. So at BV, I found a group of people who share, the same passion and dedication. And I think, honestly, that this is what unites us.
Absolutely. And your recently published book, as I show you again, Shaping a Better Maritime World. What were some of the biggest takeaways as you went through the various subjects, like the blue ocean? And one of the things that intrigued me was about sound and mammals in the ocean. Always been a favorite of my wife, and she loves animals, she loves mammals, it's just amazing. But you looked at the entire industry, and so much as all things maritime, such as the maritime industry world today, our blue planet, role of classification societies, how classification societies supporting the shift of sustainability, the future of shipping is digital, and the future of maritime. Wonderful topics, and really well versed and written, and I congratulate you on that. What were the takeaways?
Thank you, Tony. First, thank you for your kind words. Let me say first that I decided to write this book almost as a manifesto, if I may say, to outline my vision, for the future of shipping, and explain how class can fit into the bigger picture in this period of tremendous change. I mean, decarbonization and digitalization, and even more than that. So I wanted to speak to people across shipping, but also to my own teams. I think it's important, to bring this vision within the company, to make it clear to them that they are playing an important role in shaping our collective future. So what does it mean? It means that the book aims to reflect the importance of shipping for society as a whole, and to show that the decarbonization challenge can be approached with enthusiasm and confidence. So as you know, shipping has a long track record of innovating in response to wider society challenges, and I'm confident that this latest transition is no exception. I wanted as well to show that class has always evolved, using expertise, lessons learned, and independent validation to support safe innovation. If you remember, that was true for the invention of the container in the 50s and continues, by the way, to be true for this new wave of rapidly emerging innovations that will be needed to decarbonize shipping. So that's actually the main purpose of the booklet, adding that Ocean now should be seen, as a stakeholder by its own. I think it's important to, I would say, to insist on that fact, which is pretty new, I think, in the spirit of the people.
That's tremendous. I think the biggest challenge, and I think we all agree, is the decarbonization of shipping. And the industry really, surprisingly, has taken this on with a lot of vigor and a lot of commitment to making the blue ocean transport. A lot of ships come into port. Many years ago, there was a big issue in LA Long Beach. They didn't know why the people on San Pedro were being sick, and they realized that it was the ships that were sitting there idling and putting carbon into the atmosphere. That was many years ago, and we've been addressing it ever since, but we've really taken that banner and begin now moving it forward. Tell me, how is BV leading its members?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Tugny. I think it's hard, to overstate the scale of the transformation that the shipping industry now faces. As we know, with major, let me say, shakeups, due to the greater digitalization, tighter regulation, the increased scrutiny, by downstream economic actors, and of course, the growing pressure to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. Mm-hmm. For me, there is a growing awareness of the importance to protect marine, ecosystems for future generations. That's very important, and this is our driver. As I said, the sea has now become a stakeholder in its own right, and now it's our role not just to protect the life at sea, ships and assets, or help prevent pollution, mm-hmm. but to also be more active, and involved, to protect the blue planet, as you say, for the future generations, and deliver a better maritime world. And in that context, I think the ultimate role of a class society is to provide trust between the marine stakeholders. And this is what we are trying to do, through our rules, our providing principles, joint development programs, R&D partnerships, and risk assessment processes. The purpose here, is to de-risk the ambitious new projects on alternative fuels and new technologies, including, of course, the new fuels, such, wind propulsion or so on. And I think in BV, we strongly recognize that we are going to be starting this sustainability journey from different places and move at different speeds. But that's why we have a role here to support all the clients, in this sustainability journey. So that's an important thing, but it's a way as well to value, the role of the technical experts in the company. And right. That's why I'm very pleased to see that this transition, we will be, faced with enthusiasm, and with dedication, by all the team. That's a big, I would say, important, thing, in the company.
Globally, we're dealing with this COVID. And it's not going away. Shanghai shut down half of the city. Many of the ports are backed up. Mariners on cruise ships and tankers and etc. They're dealing with this mentally and physically. And BV's role has been to talk about their well-being and their social conditions on ships. You've been at the forefront of that. You've been at the leadership of that. Can you tell me more about your efforts?
Yeah, it's a very important topic as you raised, Tugny. It's true that as an industry, it's important that the shipping, continues to recognize the vital importance of the human element. So we are seeing a tremendous technological progress here, but any successful transition must be led by people at the end. And that also means that it's important for the industry to look, after its people. Historically, I think it's good to remind that the role of class has always been closely linked to safety. It's in large part thanks to the rules put in place by the class societies that shipping today is far safer than at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Today, I think class also plays an important role to protect the seafarers working and living, conditions through the maritime, labor conventions audits we carry, for instance. So many owners also request health and safety certification for their vessels today. The uncomfortable truth, if I may say, is that the working conditions in the marine industry sometimes fall short. Unclassed fishing vessels or unregulated shipyards, for instance, are the worst offenders. But the conditions on board some class vessels also have room sometimes for improvement. So now with customers and regulators' demands for sustainability, I think there is an opportunity, to go further. This is what we call somewhere the ESG, drivers, to improve this social aspect, on board the ship. So that, I think, a big change, and that will certainly help, to manage at best, this COVID pandemic, because we have learned over the past 2 years, and I think we have learned in a positive way, here.
The industry has addressed this, and I think we're all aware. And it takes organizations like yours, which are spread out throughout the world, that can help manage those issues. And I know it's a big deal for you. I know it's a very big consideration, and we all thank you that organizations like yours are there, and mariners can depend on you. Let's shift gears a little bit, and let's talk about LNG as a fuel, which is evolving on ships, and it fits into reducing greenhouse gases in 2030 and 2050. There's also a couple of other contenders out there, like ammonia and hydrogen. And so let's wrap this up all together, and let's have you address greenhouse gases with these new fuels.
Yeah, we have a few, of course, initiatives, in that respect. Let me address first probably the LNG, which is seen at BV as a necessary transition fuel, on the road to zero carbon. And we learn a lot from that, from this transition. To us, the first wave of LNG uptake, let me say, demonstrated that the industry is capable of moving quickly on new fuels. Our experience with LNG has provided a kind of a blueprint of how safe innovation is possible with new fuel, and how we can support, early designs, manage change, and work collaboratively with yards, providers, and ship owners. In that respect, the first wave of LNG has demonstrated that the industry is capable to move quickly on new fuels. So it's part, of the lessons learned, probably, for the future new fuels that we're going to have, in the coming years. That brings me to why not ammonia, hydrogen contenders. Although engines are still, I think, under development, it's important, of course, for BV and the other class societies to be ahead, of the curve and support the early designs. So at BV, we believe that ammonia, and hydrogen are serious contenders for a long-term zero carbon fuel solution for the marine industry. Now, it's too early to tell which one, will come to dominate markets for decades to come, because the scalability will be definitely an important topic to be addressed. But several fuels are likely to coexist in the meantime, which was not the case in the past. We had the heavy fuel oil, and that's it. So we are working hard, to advance the self-development of the alternative fuels, notably, by, GIP, GDPs, and ASOP and acid workshops, which are very important to assess, and mitigate the risk of these potential options.
Right. Are we on schedule to meet those benchmarks of 2030 and 2050? Do you believe?
We feel so. We feel so because today there are a few pioneering projects, and we are trying to help, these pioneers in the industry to develop these alternative fuels and advance, energy transition journey. So roles are there, and we have some good, insights that several options will be definitely available, at the end of 2030. But all will depend, of course, on the scalability, of these solutions.
Excellent, excellent. We're talking about commercial shipping. We're talking about being in the ocean, many ships. One of the things that you have discussed in your book, which I thought was excellent, is that the issues surrounding shipping and mammals, and that you're leading the way on finding a better way to deal with these creatures of the ocean who we all love and respect. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think it's for us, we are convinced that it's definitely an important topic. What you said is a tangible example, what it means to recognize the ocean as a stakeholder. Mm-hmm. And seeing, the role of class, not just as ensuring safety and preventing pollution, as I said earlier, but in actively preserving marine life and ecosystems for the future generations. For the past 60 years, marine noise pollution levels, for instance, have doubled, decade on decade, and commercial shipping is largely, responsible for this. So we know that underwater, radiated noise coming from a ship's engine and propeller perturbs, of course, the marine mammals and fish, because it interferes, with the capacity to echolocate and navigate and detect threats. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have to be like that, and solutions do exist to reduce noise pollution. I have in mind, for instance, acoustic enclosures, widening engine stiffness or optimizing propeller blade designs. So here, I think the role of class, is to encourage the uptake of these solutions by recognizing that the actions taken by our owners, are there via a voluntary notation. I think this voluntary aspect is very important because it shows, the global commitment, of the different stakeholders. So that's important for me. That's important.
Well, one thing COVID showed us was by putting people on alert, ports getting slower, ships not shipping. One of the things that we began to understand was a lot of technology came in, that we had been talking about technology and managing systems on board. And really, this was the opportunity the maritime industry really began to show that we can still move cargoes very swiftly because we have the technology to do so. And what is your view of the future of the maritime industry?
Yeah, it's interesting because during this difficult situation, I think, as you said, we have seen, a strong resilience, in the shipping industry, unlikely in other industries. So how solid, the business model is, it's very impressive, and I'm very impressive. And talking about that, before, the COVID crisis, for instance, we started seeing some stronger digitalization and innovation, in the shipping industry, while we used to hear that shipping, is a quite traditional industry. It's not at all. And I can tell you that during the COVID situation, we have seen an acceleration of the digitalization on board ships.
Right.
But as well in our class business, just give you a couple of examples. we developed some remote survey centers, worldwide, to assist the owners and to make some surveys, remotely to avoid, the interruption of the trading of the vessel, because it was not reasonable at that time. And of course, with the flag agreement, and as long as we complied, with regulations, we did perform these remote surveys. And I can tell you, over the next years, we have a lot of R&D programs where artificial intelligence, and data analytics, will transform the shipping and the class business. I'm sure about it.
Yes, I think I'm very impressed. I've been around the steamship line business, the maritime business since the early 80s, seeing the transition, the next generation ships. And I think the shipping industry has done a marvelous job in technology and fuel consumption. There are some things that we need to do, but there's a major investment going on. What are your final thoughts for our audience about where the maritime industry is doing right now, what we can do better? What do you hope to see?
I think by definition, we can always do better. But I'm very pleased to say that with respect to this transformation in the shipping sector, there are a lot of initiatives, to do better. So I think that's probably the most important thing. We are not staying inactive, if I may say. We have seen, by the way, in the past few years, a significant change in mindset from a broad range of shipping stakeholders, with a greater awareness of issues linked to sustainability, for instance. So that's also linked, to a new society-wide attitudes, calling for, climate actions, environmental protection, and probably social justice. So in other words, our customers want a fair transition. So I think it's a nice checkup, in our business. And what is interesting is that right now, technology, is moving faster than regulators can handle. And that makes the role of class more important and relevant than ever. Mm-hmm. In the sense that we use our knowledge and expertise to support pioneers of green solutions that did not exist just 5 years ago. And we make sure these are safe for everyone. In other respect, we also protect crews and ensure that they have the right training in this fast evolving technological landscape. So I'm very optimistic by nature first, but I do believe that shipping can achieve, its sustainability ambitions. Shipping's history is one of resilience and innovation, and there is no reason to me why this new challenge should be different. What the needs is the right, mindset, the right people, and the right knowledge. But I'm proud, honestly, to say that in BV, we can assist to all of this.
Well, it's been an interesting conversation. I enjoyed your book. I suggest everybody get a copy if they can. It's well written. It covers a lot of ground, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you for listening to In the Know, the Maritime Executive Podcast. We hope you'll join us again for our next exciting industry discussion. In the meantime, you can visit us at maritime-executive.com for top news on critical maritime issues.